400 million tons. That is how much plastic is produced annually according to the United Nations Environment Program. 85% of it will end up in landfills or as litter. These plastics will then break down and become microplastics, a health hazard and an environmental threat. Our best bet against plastic pollution is reusing plastic and adopting a circular economy, which is an economic system based on the reuse and regeneration of materials. However, profitability remains a challenge, especially for those in the waste collection segment, leading some to offer plastic credits, which are offsets that a company can purchase to compensate for their plastic footprint. On this episode of On the Green Path, we caught up with Alban de Ménonville, the managing director of VeryNile, to discuss how the initiative tackles the plastic pollution problem while empowering its local community.
There's a fatal issue with plastic, and I don't think many people are aware of this. Aluminium, metals in general, you can recycle them over and over again. Glass, same thing. Plastic cannot. There's only a certain number of times that you can do this. I know you champion the idea of a circular economy, but is it really something we can sort of get behind in the plastic context?
Yes, we cannot recycle plastic indefinitely. We can't. And also when you recycle some plastic, you always lose some quantity. So when we send 1 kilogram to the factory, only 70% of that will be reused. However, the main challenge first is how do we stop plastic from entering the environment? So that's one challenge. The other challenge, as you say, is how do we find some more sustainable materials? And unfortunately, there is a lack of alternative now. We've seen here and there on the world that we can use some bamboo, we can use corn as an alternative to plastic.
Those are the biodegradable plastic bags.
Yeah.
Those are the new trend. Okay.
But it won't really affect nature or the ecosystem in a long term. Plastic creates microplastic. Microplastic is everywhere. Ingest microplastic daily. We don't have any solution in the short term. So in the short term, what has to be done is prevent plastic from leaking into the environment. That's the best we can do.
Plastics are among the biggest ecological threats. They break down into harmful particles that find their way into every aspect of our lives, even our blood. Recent studies have linked these harmful microplastics to heart attacks and strokes. Now, more than ever, humanity must fight against plastic pollution. But we can't rely solely on recycling to solve our problems, as many single-use items like styrofoam cups and straws can't be recycled. So we opt to burn them and risk the harmful chemicals emitted during the process.
How much are you collecting on average every day?
We collect a lot, but at the same time, we collect nothing. We collect 1 ton, 1,000 kilograms per day of plastic from the Nile, which seems a lot because to do that, we need to be held by 180 fishermen. And to segregate all of this plastic, we provide job opportunities to 12 young men. However, if you compare that to what is thrown daily into the Nile, it's nothing. We are talking about hundreds of thousands tons per year. The Nile contributes at least up to 25% of the plastic pollution in the Mediterranean Sea. We cannot build the future by collecting more. When we collect 1 kilogram of plastic, yes, we have a good impact on the environment. But I think the most important impact we have is in the awareness.
I was wondering, how did you make sure that your project would be sustainable, would be a friend to the environment, even as you're running with recycling machines and compressing plastics and all of that?
We can always do better. To recycle, unfortunately, we need to pollute a little bit. So you take the fact that there is plastic in the Nile, and you compare it to the solution that you're bringing. Your solution needs to be better than what is actually happening now. So there is a concept called additionality, saying that your action brings a positive impact. And indeed, we need to measure that.
As the saying goes, one man's junk is another's treasure. Transforming waste into something valuable has been one of the main weapons in our fight against plastic. The recycling market holds significant promise that some experts expect will reach $120 billion by 2030. VeryNile has capitalized on this, with 20% of fishermen's salaries coming from their upcycled products and recycling activities.
So we create plastic products, it's right, but from wasted material, from recycled plastic. So what we want to show is that plastic can have a second life. Now we have 25 artisans, 80% are women, they were not working before that. We train them, we hire them to create this product.
You have a very unusual business model. You have 180 fishermen, 25 women, you're employing quite a bit of the Qursaya community. How did you manage the funds? How did you sort of tackle those early days?
We know that some project will never be financially sustainable. We know that we need some partners to help us to do that. So when we talk about the recycling project, for instance, we sell the product, and selling the product helps us to cover most of the salaries of the artisans. But there is now a new mechanism called plastic credits. This is, for me, the future of the sustainability of any initiative active into removing plastic from the environment. This plastic credit acts a bit like the carbon credits. What we want to tell to the company is that you pollute, you create some plastic. It is for this company, it is their responsibility to contribute to remove plastic from the environment. And we have an accreditation called Vera, which certifies that our work is positive, not only for the environment, but also for the community.
We live in a world where there's more plastic than people. We have created an enemy that will outlive us. But in order to win the war and preserve nature, we mustn't be afraid of making more sustainable choices. The average person discards anywhere between 30 kilograms and 100 kilograms of plastic each year. Imagine the difference we could make if we chose to reduce, reuse, recycle, if we chose a greener path.